coach. So every time I meet with someone and I ask them why real estate, why you want wealth, they say, well, I want freedom. I want time. I want to be able to focus on my family, focus on myself, explore the world and see it. And I give them the advice, I give them the exact blueprint that I use to retire myself and my ex husband in our mid 30s. And I want to give you that same advice today. Now, right now, I happen to be making lentil soup and homemade French bread for the first time ever. So, excuse me if there's some little issues with the cooking, but the information will be 100% amazing. Okay, so right now we have a lot going on, right? I know everyone's talking about the war and everyone's afraid and things like that. And I was talking to a friend about it, and I was like, well, I'll just move to another country for a while. Like, if it's gonna get crazy like that, I'll just move to another country. And she's like, you can just do that? Like, you can just up and move? And I'm like, yes. Like, I've made my business where it's 100% virtual. I can work anywhere where there's a Wi-Fi signal. I have the time, the freedom, the money. I don't have to be anywhere. Like, I can do that if I want to. And, she's like, well, what about people who can't do that? And, what should they do? And I'm like, I have been telling people how to do this for almost a decade. And I guess this is a time for me to just pop out and show, again, how I did it. So again, I'm Ashley Lorraine, M.Ed. I am a real estate investor, but a lot more than that. I'm a philanthropist. I sit on the board for the world's largest nonprofit, which is the YMCA. You may have heard of it. So I am a real business person, not one of those. I mean, I'm not one of those influencers who just come on and say this is what I do, which is why I was elected to the positions I've been in. Before real estate investing, I was a school principal. Yeah, I know, right? For over a decade, I was in education, which just means I'm really, really good at teaching people, and I'm really, really good at figuring out how people learn best. So yeah, I mean, I've always been a professional. I've always been high achieving. But anyway, you're here today because I want to talk to you about the blueprint to get free. And the only way I know how to do it is through real estate investing. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but this is the only way I know how to do it. Hey, Aaron, the only way I know how to give people freedom or offer them a blueprint is through investing in real estate. But it's going to be a lot different than what you have probably heard. So just hear me out. So when I was able to retire myself and my ex-husband in our mid 30s, it's because I made some really good decisions based on what other investors told me. I'll never forget, I was speaking with my grandparents who own hundreds of properties, and they're in their 80s. And I was like, all right, you guys need to start teaching me how to do this. I want to pivot from my career, and I really want to do real estate investing full time. Like, I want freedom. I want to be able to take care of my family the way I want to. Hey, Supreme Dog. So, do I need to rotate the screen? Someone says to rotate the screen. If I need to rotate it, let me know. But anyway, I was speaking with my grandparents. They had been real estate investors for obviously 60 years. And they were like, Ashley, the only advice we can give you, other than anything you can read and find out on your own, you don't want to be like us where you're in your 80s still paying mortgages. They're like, we're in our 80s. We have been investing for 60 years and we still pay mortgages. Like, don't be like us, because that's not true retirement, right? That's not true freedom, because we still have to work to make sure these loans are paid off. And then I was speaking with I call her my godmother, but she's really just a good friend of the family. She's also a real estate investor. She'd been investing for, I want to say, was it 40 years? 40 years at that time. And she said the same thing. She was like, I'm getting rid of all of my properties that have any kind of loans on them. And I just want free and clear properties because I want true freedom. So I was like, what are the chances of me hearing this same message from two different generations, from my grandparents and the generation and my parents' generation? So I was like, all right, I guess I just got to find a way. I just got to find a way to invest without going into debt. I'll save you a long story and I'll probably get into it later. But essentially, what I learned from people who actually do it, not influencers, not stuff I saw on social media, was to at least have one or two properties that are free and clear but high cash flow. So both of the people who were speaking to me, they both invest in areas that are pretty nice, but you can invest very inexpensively. Like you can buy a fully turnkey property. I'm telling you, for like $60,000 at that time, way less, maybe like $40,000 or $50,000. And I'm talking like turnkey, but nice, like backsplash and new windows, like nice, right? But they were then renting them out to the Section 8 program and getting these high rents. So I can tell you, like my first two houses, for instance, they were worth about $25,000 each, and that's after they were rehabbed and nice. But one was bringing in $1350 a month, and the other was bringing in $1250 a month. So if you're doing the math on that, I mean, the returns on that is just ridiculous. It's crazy. That's what we call infinite returns, right? So anyway, once I, got that advice, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do this without loans, at least for my first few properties, so that I am not in my 60s, 70s, and 80s, still technically working, because when you get a loan, you're signing paperwork saying you have to sign a promissory note that says for the next 30 years, like I'm going to work, beg, borrow, scrape, and whatever I have to do to make sure that I can pay this loan back. Like that's not freedom to me, at least to me. So I'm going to tell you exactly what I think you should do, exactly what I did. This is not saying this is all you should do. I'm not saying loans are bad. I'm not saying don't do it, because in my professional portfolio, I do have some loans and leveraged properties. But in my personal portfolio, none, because I really like freedom and I like being retired at this age. So anyway, my advice to you is, number one, really think about your why. So I'm going to break it down just in a couple of steps. Figure out why you're investing. Figure out your exit plan. Exiting and investing is different than probably what you think. You want to do market research, make sure that it's aligned to your exit and to your goal. And then you want to do like pre-underwriting. And pre-underwriting is just going to look at all of the numbers a little bit more deeply, so that you can make sure the numbers match what you want. In real estate investing, we do not buy houses, we buy deals. We buy numbers, we buy math. This is not HGTV. We're like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's like, no, we look at the numbers and we're like, ooh, that's so beautiful. All right. So let's go just to step one really quickly. Your why. Why are you investing in real estate? And there's many reasons why, right? Like you can invest because you want to supplement your income, which is the reason I invested. I wanted to be able to supplement my income so that I didn't have to work ever again in my life, because I just didn't want to. I had a really hard job, really high stress job, and I wasn't able to be the mother and the woman that I wanted to be under that kind of pressure. I was having anxiety, health issues, all kinds of stuff. But your why might be different, right? Some of you might just need some freedom. Like maybe you've never had a chance to just travel and just take time off and do what you want to do. Maybe you are getting older and this is a part of your retirement plan. Maybe you want to focus on your health and fitness. Maybe you have another dream, a true passion that you can't do because you're tied to the income from a 9 to 5, and you want to find a way to make some more income so that you can go and pursue what you know is truly on your heart. Whatever your why is, it's going to be important, because that's going to determine the type of real estate investing that you want to do. So I'll just focus on my why. My why was freedom. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. Wealth, because I wanted to have the money to be able to do what I wanted to do in a luxurious way. And really health, mental health more than anything. I had so much anxiety and just so much trauma and things like that I needed to heal, and I couldn't do it in that same monotonous. You do the same thing every day. Wake up, get ready for work all day, come home, cook, clean, get ready for work. And just I wasn't going to be able to heal, and I needed time and freedom and wealth to just focus on me and my health and my family. So first things first, like I said, know your why. After you know your why, then you can start to figure out your exit. Your exit in real estate just means, like, what do you want the property to do, right? Well, do you want the property to become an employee, right? Like a buy and hold, long-term employee where you just collect rents on it? Do you want the property to maybe bring you high lump sums of cash, like flips? Do you want the property to be at its highest and best use in terms of getting the most cash flow you possibly can? Like, once you know why you were investing, then you can pick the exit that you want. And I can tell you, I've played with many exits. I've done Airbnb, subject to tax lien takeovers. I've done owner financing, owner finance wraps. I've done, I've dabbled in group homes, but only as like an investor. I did not touch it, to be honest. I dabbled in the shared living, and again, I was the investor at that point because I had been investing for a while. So I don't know the day to day on that stuff. The stuff I know the day to day on is investing for high cash flow, which is what I'll talk about. So in order to make sure that you're aligned with what you said you want, which is freedom, health, wealth, time, whatever that is, and then that's aligned to your exit, you want to conduct market research. In real estate investing, the market tells us what we can do. We don't tell it what to do. I've seen so many people say, well, in my market, your market is like your city or your local area. In my market, houses are super expensive. So even if I buy the house and then I rent it out, I won't make much cash flow. Okay, then that's not a market for cash flow. That doesn't mean you give up your dream of cash flow. That means you go and choose a market that's good for cash flow, which is what I did. I live in Texas. Okay, most of my properties are in the Midwest because where I live, it does not support high cash flow. So I had to choose a market that does support high cash flow. And I already know what you're going to say. People always say this, well, Ashley, I don't want to invest far away from my house, because I'm new. And I'm just like, what's the difference? The answer I hear most is, well, what if something breaks? What if something breaks and I'm 2,000 miles away? And my answer is always, okay, what if something breaks and you're 2 minutes away? If the pipe bursts, you're not going to suddenly become a plumber, Mario and Luigi Super Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and go fix the pipe. You're going to do the same thing you would do if it was 2,000 miles away, which is call the plumber and let the plumber go do it. So mindset shift, right? You don't have to invest in your backyard. As a matter of fact, I recommend that you don't, because if you start invest, for some of you, if you don't have that mindset shift yet, if you invest in your backyard, you're going to try to be more hands-on than you need to. And if your goal is to be free and to be able to travel and do whatever, you don't want to start the bad habit of trying to be hands-on. You want to start off the bat hands off, okay? Trust me. And I did it with 3 small children, 2,000 miles away. So I know you can do it. And it was my first 2 properties ever. Anyway, after you do your market research, let me tell you how to do market research. So if you're going to conduct market research, the first thing I suggest you do, and this is for high cash flow, because that's what I like to do. The first thing you need to do is look up different markets. You can literally just go on Zillow.com, throw in a couple of zip codes or cities, and just see what those cities look like. So for instance, I like to buy in areas where I can buy a house between $50,000 and $100,000, really between $50,000 and $80,000, just my sweet spot. But I still want it to be a nice area. When I buy at that price, I still want it to be a nice house, and I needed to have high cash flow. I needed to be able to have high rents. Okay, so for instance, in the Midwest, I can buy a house for $65,000 and it's nice and rehabbed and beautiful, right? And then for that same house, I can rent it out to Section 8. And in certain zip codes, in that same house that's only $65,000, if I have a 4-bedroom, they're paying me between $1,600 and $2,000 a month. Did you hear what I just said? I bought it for $65,000 and I'm getting between $1,600 and $2,000 a month. That is ridiculous cash flow. And I don't have an underlying loan on there to pay, right? Because I'm buying it in cash. The taxes and insurance on a house that inexpensive, it's nothing. And these are not war zones, like, oh, terrible neighborhoods. No, a couple of the zip codes that I like to invest in, they're suburbs. They're just nice suburban areas, but that's just what that market calls for. Just like if you were to go to California, right, and go to LA. Okay, a 1-bedroom might cost you, I don't know, $500,000. But that's just because that's just what that market is. So you have to find the market that's aligned to what you want to do. So for me, I like freedom, health, wealth, my time to myself. So cash flow is important to me. So I picked an area where I can get high cash flow. I can buy a house inexpensively. That's nice. That doesn't cause me a lot of trouble. And I can rent it out for extremely high rents. Okay, so that's step 1. Then once you look it up on Zillow and you play around with a couple of zip codes and you kind of see how much the houses cost, and you find one that has housing that costs about what you want and is giving you, the nice turnkey or however you want to buy it, then you want to look at the rents. All right, Zillow will show you the rents. You can look it up. Zillow will also show you the taxes and it'll give you an estimate for insurance. The taxes you can look up yourself, but it is on Zillow. And if you want to look up the insurance, insurance is typically about 1% of the value of the house. So you can just kind of use that as a down and dirty. So then you can look up the rents. You can also look up the rents if you're going to do like me and invest in Section 8. Now, again, I invest in Section 8 because they pay so much more in my particular market than cash renters. So if you want to look up Section 8 rents, you literally can Google HUD FMR. HUD stands for Housing and Urban Development. FMR stands for Fair Market Rate, or Fair Market Rent. So just Google HUD space FMR, and you'll put in the zip code that you were just looking up in Zillow, and it'll show you exactly how much Section 8 is paying in that area. And it's very specific down to the zip code. So you're just going to see, does that make sense? Is that what I want? So let's say if I have a market where I can buy a house for $70,000 and Section 8 is going to pay me, I don't know, $1,800 a month. For me, that's a yes, absolutely, hello. Right? But let's say I looked up a zip code, I don't know, in LA or something, right? And the house cost me $600,000. And then for a 3-bedroom, Section 8 is paying $3,000. Well, then no, that's not such a good deal, right? Here's how you'll know. You can go to any loan amortization calculator. Just go on Google. There's one that I like. I think it's called loan_calc. Usually I have this when I'm teaching this, but any loan calculator will work for you. And it will let you put in the purchase price. If you're going to have a loan, totally up to you. I don't do loans, but if you're going to have a loan, it'll let you put in the loan amount, the down payment, your interest rate, taxes, insurance, if there's any HOA. It'll let you plug all those numbers in. And then you'll be able to see, okay, what is going to be my PITI every month? Your PITI is your payment, interest, taxes, and insurance. And then sometimes you add the A for association fees. I'm supposed to be cooking. Sorry, y'all. When I get into this, I'll be so excited. So anyway, it'll show you how much your monthly debt service is going to be all inclusive. Now that does not include property management. So you'll have to buffer in about 8 to 11% of the rents that you'll get for that. But just for down and dirty, you can put it in that calculator and it'll show you. So if, let's say you're getting a loan, which I don't, but in this instance, if you're getting a loan, so let's say your house was $70,000 because you were smart, you picked a market like me, right? And let's say you're getting, I don't know, $1,600 per month from Section 8, which is great. And let's say when you put in your loan payments and all of that, all together you're paying, I don't know, $1,000 a month for the loan, for the debt service. Okay, that still leaves you $600 of cash flow, in gross cash flow, which is really good. Okay, most investors are hoping to get maybe $200-$300 per door. They think $400 a door is good. If you're getting $600 in that example, like you're killing it. You could just literally in 10 minutes or less, you can do exactly what I told you to do, and you'll be able to test any market to see if it's good for high cash flow. And that's just a down and dirty due diligence, just so you can get a snapshot of it. And from there, you can just calculate, okay, well, if you're doing the loan thing, okay? All right, so if it's $600 and let's say I want to supplement my income at $6,000 a month, okay, I just need to get 10 of those. And the good thing is, if you're using loans, the more you do loans, the better relationship you have with that lender. They'll let you leverage the rental income from some of your properties to help you qualify for more. Or you can, I'm sorry, I'll be getting so into this. This is not what we're here for, sorry. Anyway, I do mine in cash, so that means I don't have to have as many properties as people with loans. So in that example where that person was making $600 a month with the loan, I would be making that full $1,600 per month because I don't have a loan. So you see how I'm able to get to my number way faster than this person with the loan. So the person with the loan might have to have 10 houses to get to that $6,000 a month, right? Whereas for me, I only need four, maybe 5 houses to get to the same goal. So that's why I was able to retire so quickly, because I focused on getting high cash flow in that market, that's that sweet spot, so I didn't have to work as hard and get as much. Another difference between cash and loan is, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with loans, but with loans, you have to ask yourself, where does it end? Where does it end? So if you're doing this for absolute freedom and just real wealth and all of that, but you have a loan on it, as my grandparents and my friend, my mentor said, you're going to be in your 80s paying those loans back. You got to figure out where does it end. And that's why I tell people to just at least have one or two houses that are just 100% free and clear, that you just own outright if you really want to taste the freedom. Because loans, in my opinion, you're just trading in one rat race for the other, right? You traded in your 9 to 5, but now you have this loan that you have to pay every single month. You can't just sit back and relax on the beach all day. You got to make sure you're doing things to be able to pay that loan back. You can't be having vacancies. You got to be really a stickler on the expenses on your properties to make sure that they're still profitable. What about when taxes goes up? What about insurance goes up? How does that impact your bottom line? Whereas like me, if you're buying it in cash, those things, okay, taxes and insurance goes up. So instead of getting $1,600 a month, I get $1,500 a month. I don't care. Somebody decided to move out and I don't have the occupancy that I want. I don't have an underlying loan. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say I don't care, but I don't have those worries. So that's what I always recommend it. So if you do those 3 steps, those three steps will help you to analyze any market very quickly and just test it to see if it's aligned to what you want, which for me is always going to be high cash flow. Okay. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot with Section 8 is people are asking, well, I'm hearing Donald Trump say that he's going to cancel affordable housing. He's going to cancel Section 8. And I did a video on this earlier. Like, if you think Donald Trump is the first president to ever try to get rid of things like Section 8, you're crazy. There's been plenty of people, government entities, initiatives to try to get rid of it. History always repeats itself. So, like I told my clients, look at what other people did, how other investors pivoted when that happened, and just do the same thing. So I'll give you a little bit of advice on what we did, but I don't want to get into too much. But you got your own coach. You should be listening to your coach. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But some things that we've done to pivot or prepare ourselves for if something was to happen with Section 8 is, you guys have to remember, Section 8 is a voucher program that is federally funded. But it is not the only voucher program, right? So there are voucher programs that are state funded. There are voucher programs that are funded by the county, funded by the city, funded by other organizations. So Section 8 is not the end all be all for vouchers. So I hope that just gives some people some pause right there. The frenzy and all the stuff that I'm seeing online with people like, oh my God, what are we going to do? You're going to pivot like you would do in any business if things are changing or things are going to impact your bottom line, right? So some things that we did, we started pivoting back in January. We just started making relationships with voucher programs that were not federally funded. That way, if Section 8 goes kaput and it never exists again, cool. We'll just use a state-funded voucher or a city-funded voucher or a county-funded voucher. Guys, it's really not, it's no cause for a frenzy. For the investor side, for the people who are receiving those vouchers, obviously I can see why they would be worried. Some other things that have been said by this government, it changes day to day. So if this is outdated by the time you watch it, it's my apologies. But some things that I'm also hearing is that they are going to put a time limit on it. So Section 8 recipients will only have 2 years on the program, and then they have to move on. Now, several things. You have to think from the investor standpoint, right? Number one, that's good for me as an investor. The pool is so large, and that's another thing about your market research. Like in the market where I invest in, and we just looked this up, there are 7,000 people with vouchers and only about 2,000 landlords who are renting to people with vouchers. So that's what, a 2 to 7 ratio. That means for every 2 landlords, there's 7 applicants available. They're all just, we definitely have a great market where we have a lot more Section 8 voucher holders than properties available. But anyway, so if it were to be that 2-year thing, cool. I'm in a market that can support that because there's so many people with those vouchers. Even if they're filtering through every 2 years, I'm in a market where we're fine. The one thing we were concerned about is that high rate of attrition, that turnover rate. Turnovers are hard on rental properties, especially if they're going to be quick. In Section 8, we are used to having our tenants stay forever. I've been an investor for almost a decade, and I'm have less than 5 tenants that I can think of that moved out like within a year or two. Almost all of them stay for a very long time. So that's something that we are also getting ready to pivot for. Like, okay, we now have to be ready for our, property to be able to take on having these different families moving in. Well, I told you guys in real estate investing, I've tried many things, right? So I used to have an Airbnb. And with the Airbnb, we made some upgrades to be able to accommodate the wear and tear that happens when you have a bunch of different people in there. So I just took some of those things and put it into my rentals. So if we're going to have that 2-year rate of attrition, obviously, for instance, the flooring, then you want to have a flooring that's going to be a bit more durable that can sustain the moving in, moving out, moving in, moving out, right? You might want to have some industrial grade, like pipes or sinks, just things like that that can really withstand people in and out, in and out, in and out. We also heard that the federal government may just, instead of defunding Section 8, they're going to give the powers to the states. So again, market research. You want to be in states that support Section 8, right? Because they're the ones who are going to keep the voucher program going. If you're investing in a state that does not support it, then just move to the market that does. It is very, very simple, right? Another thing that we heard was some individuals will be able to stay on Section 8 without that 2-year time limit. Okay, so as an investor or landlord, wouldn't you want to start making your property like very appetizing to those types of tenants who don't have the 2-year timeline, who can stay forever? Okay, so we've already started making some of those pivots, but I hope this helps some of you. And again, I don't want to step on the toes of your current coach. If they're telling you something different, you hire them for a reason. Do whatever you believe. But I can just tell you what's working for us. And this is coming from someone where my grandparents are Section 8 landlords, right? My mentor, Section 8 landlord. So these are people who've seen a lot of different, my grandparents had been investing for 60 years? You know how many presidents they've gone through? How many different government programs they've gone through, or entities or government ideas who wants to change this or change that. So they know how to pivot. And because I'm fortunate enough to have them in my life, I was taught how to pivot. And now I guess I'm teaching you. All right, so anyway, I started this, and we're just talking about here's how you get free. If you really want freedom and wealth and health and just time, the only way I know how to teach you how to do that is through real estate investing. I'm sure there's other ways, but this is just the way that I know because it's the way that I've done it. It's the way I was able to retire myself and my ex-husband in our mid-30s. I've never missed a kid school event. As you can see right now, I prioritize my health, fitness, and beauty. I get to travel, see the world. I get to do what I want to do. I get to get on here and just talk to you guys just because I feel like it. It's a great feeling. I want everyone to have that, especially now with everyone worried about the war and the economy and things like that. It's like, if you thought about real estate investing before, now you need to take action because this is the time to do it. I don't want to sound like first world problems, but people are like, hey, what if, America goes to war and blah, blah. I'm like, well, I'll just move to another country for a little while. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, oh, what about a job? I don't have a job. My properties are my employees. Do what I want to do. Make enough money to do it, have the time, the wealth, the health, the freedom to do it. And I want everyone to have that. I feel like it was not hard. The hardest part was ignoring what everyone else was saying. Because I know when you guys get on social media, everyone's saying, get a loan, get a loan, get a loan. As a lender, as the bank, I'm the bank for several properties. I can tell you. We're only telling you to get loans because it makes us more money and it keeps you having to work to pay us the money, right? As long as you're working, we don't have to. That is why. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And this comes from my grandparents, again, who were real estate investors for 60 years. And they said their only wish for me becoming a real estate investor is to not make the mistake they did, where they're still paying mortgages in their 80s. I'm more retired than they are because I don't have loans and stuff like that in my personal portfolio. My professional one I do. So anyway, let's talk about the Ashley method. Oh, if you're just tuning in, welcome. I'm just making some homemade lentil soup and some homemade fresh French bread. See the stuff you can do when you retire in your mid-30s? You just do what you want to do. Anyway, and I just felt like making fresh bread. I've never done it before, but I want to try it. So the Ashley method. The Ashley method is really just for people who really want to focus on high cash flow and they really want to focus on just having freedom. This is a conversation that I love to have, and I'm not the inventor of this conversation. It comes from a book called The Life in Air, and Life in Air just caused me to think differently. So just like everyone else, when I got into real estate investing, especially when I got really good at it, you know, you think about it like, oh, I want the $1 million. I want, you know, oh, I can make $20 million doing this and doing that. And that's when people get caught up in the loans. But you got to really think about what's important to you. And I want to ask you guys this too. If you had $50,000 a year, let's say you only made $50,000 a year, right? But let's say your house is paid off, your cars are paid off. Only thing you have to pay every month is your lights and gas, and that's it. But you make $50,000 a year. How much is that a month? I don't know, maybe $5,000 a month? $5,000 a month, I think. But it's yours, right? You don't have a mortgage. You don't have car payments. You don't have all of this stuff. It's just $5,000 a month. You do what you want to do with it. If you want to just buy plane tickets and travel with that $5,000 a month, you can. Versus what is sold to you is $1 million. As a real estate coach, almost everybody I work with are millionaires. I can tell you that now. But what's the point of having $1 million if it takes $1.1 million for you to sustain that lifestyle? Let me say that again. What's the point of you having $1 million if it takes $1.1 million for you to sustain the lifestyle? That's not freedom. That's not even real wealth. That's not going to give you your health and your time back. Matter of fact, it's going to make your health worse because you're going to be worried and I got to work and I got to do this and I got to do that. You're going to be missing family stuff because even though you have $1 million, it takes 1.1 million to support your life. But what if you're just like, 50,000? I make $50,000 a year, but my house is paid off, my car is paid off. Then what? I don't have any debt. So I just always implore people to think about that because wealth looks different to different people. Some people like that hustle and bustle. I only make $1 million this year, but I need 1.1 million. I'm gonna go get it, hustle. But I can tell you, as somebody now who is hitting 40 and I have 3 small children, I'm not hustling. I don't want to work hard. I don't want to do none of that. You know what I want to do? This: cook fresh food, work out, travel, see the world, do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to have to hit nobody's time clock. I don't want to have to owe anybody anything. I just want peace, luxury, health, and wealth. Freedom. That's what I want. That's it. That is wealth to me. I coach so many people where they want to be the big man on campus. Yeah, I got 30 doors. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just got 20 apartment buildings. I have 200 houses, 200 doors, all of that. But then when I look in their numbers, I'm like, yeah, you got 200 doors, but you only make like $10 a door. You know, when we do the math, like that ain't no money. You got all this debt just to say you have 200 doors, but you're not making no money. And then you look at the portfolio of people who actually listen to me, right? And they have a lot of their houses free and clear. Well, they might only have 10 houses, but those 10 houses are bringing in $10,000 a month, $1,000 per door, you know, and that's being conservative. So just be careful about what wealth is to you. If wealth to you is flashy, and I want to say I have 200 doors and all of that stuff, I'm telling you, it's fleeting. It's not sustainable. Where does it end? Where does it end? But if you see wealth really as just time, luxury, you know, being able to do what you want to do, health, wealth, you're gonna do well with this blueprint. And yes, there is a hybrid. Of course, you can have some leverage properties, you know, and all that stuff, and also have some that are free and clear. You can do that too, but I digress. I just want people to really think about what does wealth really look like. I have to go check on this bread. Let's check on this bread real quick. Oh yeah, baby. Homemade bread. My dough is rising. I think I need to punch it down a little bit. Oh, this looks so good, y'all. I've never made homemade bread before. I'm so excited. Look at that. Hello. Anyway, Ashley method, ASHLEY. ASHLEY. A is for assets, S is for saving, H is for high cash flow, L is for loans or liens on your life. E is for emergencies and employees. Y is for Yaris, like a Toyota Yaris, okay? So the A in Ashley is for assets. Assets are things that you own or partake in that make you money. Like a lot of people think the house they live in is an asset. Yeah, it's not. I mean, maybe it's a mental health asset, right? If it makes you feel good, but financially, it's not because you're paying it. It's not paying you. Okay? So that's why a lot of things that you hear me say is at least have one house that's free and clear, an investment property, not the one you live in. Or it could be the one you live in. But you want to have at least one house that's free and clear because that's truly an asset. And I'm telling you this because I'm the bank for a lot of properties that I own. If your house has a mortgage on it, it is not your asset. It is the bank's asset. Okay? Like for instance, when I'm lending to people, and I'm giving them a mortgage for my properties, it's not their asset, right? I mean, technically they can use it to make money, but until they pay my loan off, it's my asset. That's why I can sell the note, leverage the note to do other things because it's my asset. Let's say if you pay that mortgage every single month for 29 years and you get into year 30 and you don't pay it and you go into foreclosure, I get that house back and you don't get any of the money back that you put into that house or that you've been paying into the loan. Okay, plus I get a lot of interest. It's my asset. So I don't want people to get under the false idea that if you own a house but you have a mortgage on it or you went the loan route, that is not your asset. It is a liability because if anything goes wrong, if you're unable to pay it, if things change, okay, and it's not able to make you money, insurance goes up, taxes goes up, things change all the time. You don't have anybody living in there. It's a liability now. So just be very careful about what you're calling an asset, especially if you're playing the loan game. I'm not saying anything was wrong with that, but loans, I'll get into loans when we get to the L. I'll just say you want to have at least one asset. And in my opinion, an asset is something that you own free and clear. There is no debt on it. S. S is for saving is silly. Saving is silly. I feel like poor people and rich people kind of have this in common. It's the middle class that gets stuck in this saving cyclone. But essentially, if you are saving, and let's say your, savings account has a 1% yield for you. But then right now, if you look up inflation, it's at 2.3%. Are you really saving? No, you're losing money. Every day that your money is in the bank, you are losing money. Simple subtraction. Inflation is 2.3, you're earning 1%. So 2.3 minus 1%. So you're losing 1.3% of your money every time that it's in the bank. The only time I keep my money in the bank and I'm saving is because I'm saving for another property to buy free and clear. I'm saving to buy another asset. Okay? Saving in a bank sounds safe. Okay? Using your savings to invest in an asset is safe. That's the difference. All right? H is for high cash flow. So high cash flow, I already talked about the markets and how you can test your market for it. But high cash flow for me is I really like to see my properties making between $1,000 to $1,800 per month in rental income. And that's with no loans on them. Because that means I don't have to buy a whole bunch of houses. I can just buy a couple and they're extremely profitable. So you really want to have high cash flow, especially if you want to supplement your income, or you can just have like a house assigned to this house is saving for Christmas. This house is saving for our trip. This house is going to pay for kids' college. Like you can do that, right? But savings are silly. It doesn't work. Find somewhere to put your money where it's going to make more money. If you got nothing else from this, do that. L, loans are simply taking liens out on your life. It's the truth. When you sign up for a loan, especially a 30-year loan, you are signing a promissory note saying, for the next 30 years, I'm going to do whatever it takes to pay this loan. Beg, scrape, borrow, whatever. But I promise you, I'm going to pay this loan. I promise you. That's why you have to turn in how much money you make, pay stubs, all of that. Because you are promising that you are going to sustain whatever job you have to make those payments. That's not freedom. That sounds like the opposite of freedom, signing away the next 30 years to promise to work. I'm investing because I don't want to work. Okay, it's the opposite. So, of course, if you are an expert, loans are for experts, people who know what they are doing. Loans are not for people who don't understand money. So I always tell the difference. My personal portfolio of properties, no debt. My professional portfolio of properties, as much debt as it can possibly get. Two totally different reasons, right? This one is meant for my partners to see the returns that they want. I can leverage them, they don't care. For me, in my own personal one, if all else fails in this world, I like the idea that I don't owe anybody anything, okay? And I can sit on my couch for the rest of my life if I want to, and I'm still gonna be paid. I don't have to worry about doing anything. Anyway, so if you're gonna get a loan, the only time I recommend it is if you know what you are doing. That means you have a plan. If you're doing volume, for instance, so you're building a business around it. But you shouldn't be building a business before you build your personal life. You want to have your personal life first, then build your business around that. You don't want to try to build this big business and then try to fit your personal life in there, because I'm telling you, you will never make time for it. You will never make time for your personal life. E, so we're ASHLE. E is for emergency and employee. So when you're buying houses free and clear, one thing that I like about it is they're always there in case of an emergency. So there might be times where I have to go in and like sell a property real quick. Or for me, I sell it with owner financing. That's a whole other life. But that's where I get like the down payment, monthly payment, and then I'm building equity on it. Or you can do a cash out refi. Like if there's an emergency, you can always tap back into those free and clear properties if you need to. I've had to do that a couple of times. So I'm telling you, you can do that. It's there for an emergency. Also, E is for employee. You want to make your property an employee. You want to make, let's say if you were mid-20s, would you real estate invest first before maxing a Roth IRA? I only can speak for the Roth IRAs that I know. They only let you go up to like $6,000 a year, and for $13,000 if you're married. I'm not a tax person, okay? I'm just saying the people who invest with me, a lot of them use Roth IRAs, and so I'm kind of familiar with what they're doing. If I were in my 20s, I would be clear on what I want. So if you're investing in your 20s because you want high cash flow or because you want a lifestyle where you're not stuck to a 9 to 5, if I were you, I would buy at least one free and clear property. I would save and buy at least one. It is your cushion. It is your path to freedom. It is your key, okay? It's your freedom papers. But if you're in your 20s and you want to build a real estate investing business and, volume is going to be the name of the game, I would just start with maybe one cash property, like what I'm talking about, then I would go and build. But I would say regardless, your first property really should be free and clear. And I'll tell you why more in a second. So E, also you want to make your property an employee. Okay, like I have, for instance, I don't know if y'all can see my house, but obviously I have a pretty fancy house, right? So all my neighbors have like all these nice cars. I mean, it's not unusual to walk down the street and just see a bunch of like Bentleys and Porsches and things like that. Like two of my neighbors are doctors. Some of them just live here part-time and they just spend the rest of the time traveling the world. But the point I'm making is I still drive a Nissan, right? And my middle son, he likes fancy. It's like, Mom, why do we still have a Nissan? And we used to have a Maserati and blah, blah. And I'm like, because this house is assigned to pay for a car. So whatever cash flow this house makes, that determines the kind of car that we get to drive. Okay, so let's say if this house is only bringing in $1,000 a month, it has to cover that car note, insurance, any kind of tax that we need for the tolls and highways, registration, maintenance, gas, a car, tire chain, anything related to that car comes from that house. Okay, kids go to private school. There's a house that pays for that. This house pays for private school tuition. Okay, this house pays for summer vacation. This house pays for our mortgage. This house pays, like you can give your house jobs. And that works really well for me in terms of budgeting, but that's a whole other thing. But make your houses your employees, especially when they're free and clear. And then, oh, I gotta get dinner finished. All right, I gotta wrap this up. For the Y is for Yaris. Yaris, like a Toyota Yaris, okay? Real estate investing. A lot of people want to get into real estate, and let's compare it like if you get a loan, that's like you buying a Ferrari. When your kid is first learning how to drive, when you first learn how to drive, you don't go out and buy them a Ferrari for many reasons. Number one, they're new, so they don't know enough about driving or car maintenance. They don't have enough money for you to invest and say, I'm going to get you a Ferrari, because you know they don't know, right? And Ferraris are expensive to maintain. You know, you have to have a certain amount of gas. It has to have certain maintenance. If you just hit a bump on the road and it scratches, I mean, that's thousands of dollars in damages that you have to take care of. It is high maintenance. The insurance is high on it. You know, car note is high on it. When you have a kid who's learning how to drive, or an investor who's new, who's learning how to invest, you want to get them the Toyota Yaris. A Toyota Yaris is probably like the lowest level car that Toyota has. It's cheap, it's not cute, but it's low maintenance. You can probably change the tire yourself. If they get into an accident and bump it, no one cares. If it gets scratched up, no one cares. Insurance is super cheap, and that thing will drive forever. Okay, you want to get them a little cash car because it gives them room to make mistakes. It gives them space to learn. It gives them that, it kind of takes the pressure off of things, right? And so you want to compare those to. The Yaris is you buying a cash house. When you buy a cash house as a new investor, you get to make mistakes, because you will make mistakes because you're new, right? So like if you're not able to get a tenant in there immediately, it's okay, because you don't have a loan to pay on there. If you want to be Mr. Fix It yourself, you can do that on a cash house. You know, it's not like you got to install granite countertops. You can do a little backsplash from Home Depot. You have a lot of room to make mistakes and to learn. And once you learn from that cash house, okay, then, we can upgrade you to something better. But nobody in their right mind who's a brand new driver is going to come out the gate and say, I'm going to drive a Ferrari. It makes no sense. And I say the same thing to investors. If you're new, you haven't been investing long enough to get your Ferrari yet, because you're going to make mistakes and it's going to be expensive. If you have a loan payment to make, you got to have somebody in that house. You got to have it occupied. You're not good enough yet to be able to guarantee that it's occupied. You don't want to have to be digging into your personal finances for your investment property because something broke, but it's super expensive because you got that loan on there. So it has to be right. Like, you don't want that pressure, not on your first one. Let your first one be your Toyota Yaris. You can mess it up and it's still going to be profitable. Still going to do what it needs to do, get you from point A to point B. You can literally probably drive that thing with the bumper hanging off and you'll be fine. But on your Ferrari, and I'm telling you this because I've had some nice cars, okay? If one thing is wrong with the electrical system or something like that, that thing has to sit out and go get fixed, and it's expensive and it costs a lot of money. So just please get the Toyota Yaris, learn how to invest. Let that be your practice property, because it's still going to be profitable because it's inexpensive. It's high cash flow. It's still going to be profitable, very profitable for you. You can make mistakes. And then once you learn the ropes, then move into the loan products, because now you know what to do. Now you know how to keep a property occupied. Now you have relationships with handymen or contractors who can come in and do that for you, who's not giving you crazy prices because you've already been there, done that. So anyway, I've been on this live for quite a bit, but hey, Janice, I really hope you check back in at some point. I would love to know how your investment goes or what you decided to do. But if you were my child, the same thing that I teach my children, I will tell you, invest in real estate, get that first property free and clear, high cash flow, do the market research, which is in this video. You can just look back at it, cash flow the heck out of it, learn from it, and then you can go and do the loans or whatever other fancy stuff you want to do after that. All right, guys, I am super excited about my homemade bread and my lentil soup that I didn't even get to because I was busy talking. But I hope this helps somebody. Hey, get in touch with me if you're interested in coaching. If you've never thought about getting a coach, think about it so you're not making a bunch of mistakes that you don't have to. And if you learned anything from this live, I'd love for you to share it in the comments, what you learned or what you might want to learn in another one. All right, I'll see you guys later. And don't forget, you can always meet me. My Calendly is on my YouTube channel. Let's meet. Let's talk. Bye, guys.